Welcome to this video on UFC 309 coming up this weekend. I'm going to go through the whole main card, how I think it's going to happen, and how each fight's going to finish. So, getting straight into the first fight of the main card, Ruffy versus Lautop. Lautop, for the weight class, 6 foot, very good height, to be honest, for lightweight, but still has a reach disadvantage to Ruffy. I think Ruffy's very good. I think he showed so much in his last fight. Showed how good he was, how dynamic he was, and was really in control. That reach really helps him, and he's still got the reach advantage in this fight, which I think is one of the key things. Until he gets to that top level, that reach advantage is really strong. And the way he just is able to move out of the way, keep moving out of the way, and know, okay, once I move out of the way of one shot, I've seen it, he does it again, I move out of the way, then I counter, and them straight hands are money every day of the week when he counters, and especially in his last fight, what a display he showed, and I don't see him losing here. I think Lautop is good, but overall I think it's going to be very difficult for him to win it. He's 6 foot, but that can, in a sense, mean that against the shorter fighter, but the reach, especially being a 6 footer lightweight, he just stands back to avoid shots, chin up in the air, and just moves backwards. And against Ruffy, he's probably not had a reach disadvantage, and Ruffy's got that advantage. And with a 6 foot guy probably putting his chin up in the air, I don't see how. Against a shorter fighter, Laudrop against a shorter fighter, how he doesn't get his chin up slightly against a shorter fighter, and he's just going to make money with them straight hands, straight with the counters. And even if he gets out of the way of a jab or something, he'll just go for the straight, and the reach is there, the ability's there. I think Ruffy gets this done, KO, TKO, winning the 3 rounds. I do think he's very good. I think he's going on to bigger and better things. He's at least going to be ranked, I think, top 10. And we'll see where we go from there, to be honest. On to the next fight, Araujo versus Silva. And I do think Silva has this. I think Silva's the better fighter here. Pretty much the same height, same reach. 1 inch in it. It's going to make no real difference in a fight. Much the younger fighter, Silva. I think it's going to be tough. I think Silva's done very well. I think she's very good on the ground. And if she's able to get it to the ground, I think she wins. And I do think she does. I think round 1, she gets it to the ground. Shows her the ground game. Does a few good things. Gets a bit of damage done. Maybe a submission attempt, but nothing really happens. But it does mean Araujo has to get in there round 2 and 3 and actually get something on her. And that can cause problems when you're running for a win or trying to get a round win. You just run into them takedowns of Silva, and Silva will get you down quick, and then suddenly look, you're losing the round again. So I think it's the desperation will cause Arjo to get this, to try and do something standing up, but I think she's just going to get caught with a takedown as she comes forward. I think Silva's got a massive amount of confidence for the win she's recently had, and I think that's a great place for Silva to come in at. She's confident her game can win, and I think that's the point of the fight, that she's confident she can win. I don't think she'll get her out of there. I think she will win by decision, but I do think Silva gets it done by keeping it on the ground at least for 2 of those rounds and getting damage enough to get a 10-9, and I think it probably ends 28-27 in favour of Silva. On to the next fight, Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Bo Nickel, obviously, looking at this, he's on a super highway to the top of that level game. I think Paul Craig, he's a great challenge, and I would have said maybe 1-2 years ago, look, he's a great challenge for a Bo Nickel who, look, they're both fighters on the ground. Paul Craig's a big guy. Let's see how it sort of works, how he sort of handles that sort of very big but very, very good on the ground fighter. But now I think Paul Craig's sort of diminished slightly. I think he's diminished. He's had losses that don't look so good. Bo Nickal's, I think, where Paul Craig has lost, I think Bo Nickal's probably at least slightly above that level of the fighters who've beaten him. I think a couple of years earlier, I think it's a bit of a different story. It's more competitive, definitely, or at least I think, looking at it as trying to predict it, I think okay, that's probably closer than now. But look, currently, he's lost 2 out of his 4 fights in 2023, and he's had 1 fight this year, and he's got 1 loss, so that doesn't bode well going against a Bo Nickal who's going through the gears, getting up the levels. His wrestling is amazing, probably the best in MMA currently, and look, he's getting the stand-up going, so I don't see how Bo Nickal doesn't get this done. I actually think he gets it done by KO TKO. I think Paul Craig has to try and defend them takedowns. I think Paul Craig could, in a sense, just stall the fight on the ground, and so I think Bo Nickal gets it done standing up, or at least it starts off with a stand-up and counter to get it done overall. So you know what I mean. So Bo Nickal, knocks him out or drops him, and then that causes a submission or something on the ground. But I do think Bo Nickal gets it done by KO TKO if I had to guess. So on to the next fight, on to the co-main event. Oliveira versus Chandler. So this is really a fight where you go, look, Chandler's been off for 2 years waiting for a McGregor fight. Never materialised. The UFC's probably offered him a good amount of money to go, look, take another fight. This Conor McGregor fight that you signed up for and we've signed for and everything like that probably isn't going ahead. McGregor has no real, no intention, but there's problems there. You're going to be waiting a hell of a lot longer time. And actually, how long have you got in your career left to a Chandler? But in a sense of it, if they're offering him anywhere near the McGregor money, it's got to make money. So he can't be coming in against a top 10 guy. He's got to be coming in at least a top 5 guy like Oliveira, which, that's the fight that's been made. I think Chandler being off for 2 years, waiting for McGregor, it's a big fight to come in back to. McGregor, I could see, look, that could be more of a coin flip really on who's going to win that. But against Oliveira, who's been active, he's went against Sarukian, but he's only lost by decision, who's top of the game at the minute. He's at least top 5 in that division as well. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one where you think, look, how is he going to get this done, Chandler? He's getting on with his career. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires after this fight unless the McGregor fight is suddenly handed to him again. I think Oliveira has a big advantage on the ground as well, and I think if anything goes wrong on the feet for Oliveira, where he likes to stand as well, he will just take it down and do something there. I think there's no problem with him doing that. I think he has a massive advantage on the ground. And I think there's too many options for Oliveira to win with very lacking options for Chandler to win. I think then you have to go for a Oliveira win. And I think you say it's probably I would say by submission. I think Chandler doesn't get cleanly knocked out by Oliveira. But in a sense, he could get knocked down and then submitted on the ground. I think that could happen, but I do think it finishes on the ground. On to the main event, which is John Jones versus Miocic. Obviously, John Jones, I think he gets this done. A long time for Miocic to be out. Last fight in 2021 against Ngannou, where he lost and got knocked out. And I do think he sort of slowed at that point. Maybe Ngannou got better, and he did, from that first fight they had. But I do think Miocic, at least at that fight, plus another 3 years, you've got to be thinking he's slowed in some way. He hasn't been having fights. He hasn't been in that top level competition, which you pretty much only see in true fights. Hard to find that in the gym where people are truly, the top level, with everyone in the gym being that top level of fighter that actually can show you what that top level is. I think it's going to get away from him. I think it's going to show that. I think a guy who's definitely Hall of Fame, and one of the best heavyweight champions ever, and had some great fights, great mix-ups where I remember Daniel Cormier, he started going to the body late on and got the win. I remember that when Daniel Cormier started having success, Miocic started doing sort of hooks to the body, uppercuts to the body, and actually really damaged Cormier, and actually got the win. And that's the type of intelligence that he had to be the heavyweight champion for however long he was, and to have the amount of fights he had, and to face some of the best ever like Daniel Cormier. So I think, but it's going to be a tough watch. I think it's going to be a tough watch for, if you thought Miocic, champion, coming back, let's see what he can do. Look, let's be honest, he's been out there 3 years, nearly 4. He fought in 2021 in March. I think it's going to be a tough showing to say, look, he's going to come back against a John Jones who has been more active, has been against Garn, has beaten Garn, who, is semi, top 5 level. It's going to be tough for him to come back in and go, yeah, I'm going to beat John Jones, who's been more active. I think John Jones was an awkward matchup for anyone anyway. Miocic is at the back of his career. I don't expect him to fight on after this. John Jones may do. But Miocic, I think 100% definitely not. Even if he wins, I think he probably won't fight again. So it's a bit of that tough one where John Jones has the advantage on the ground, clearly. And John Jones probably has that speed advantage now that Miocic hasn't been in the cage for nearly 4 years. So I think John Jones will get this done. I think it's a tough one. I think 5 rounds doesn't help Miocic as well, because obviously not being in the cage for 4 years nearly 4 years doesn't help you survive 5 rounds with one of the best ever. So I think it's going to be a tough one. I think John Jones has too many advantages of being in the cage, having the ground game, which is better, and I think it's going to be a tough night. I think it's going to be faster as well. So I think it's going to be a tough night. There's little methods of victory, except from probably a KO by Miocic, but there's many methods of victory for John Jones, I believe. So John Jones, I think, gets this done. And I think by submission, I think Miocic covers up well, keeps himself respectable, but when it gets to the ground, that's really it. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.